Howdy there. So a couple days ago, I managed to see 21 Jump Street, and I enjoyed it. I think I'll give it a solid 7. 21 Jump Street is about two cops who went to high school together. They definitely weren't friends in high school. They probably didn't even know each other except for like one interaction, which they show. And then they end up going to the same police academy at the same time. One being, very physically fit, have the physical prowess. The other has the mental prowess. Together, they make the perfect team, the perfect cop. And so, well, not really, because they get in trouble. They get demoted to undercover, to 21 Jump Street to infiltrate a high school drug ring, by going back to high school. And then they have to take this drug ring down that has gone into the school. So that's pretty much it. It stars Channing Tatum, Jonah Hill, Nick Offerman, Ice Cube. Who else is in there? For half the time, or most of the time, until the credits rolled, I kept on looking at this one young guy. I'd never really seen him before, but he looked so familiar. I was like, who is this guy? How do I know this guy? It was like driving me insane. It was like, who is this guy? Turns out it's the younger brother of James Franco. And I can't remember his name. It's like, Marcus Franco, something like that. Anyway, the younger brother of James Franco is now an actor. And he looks very similar to his brother. So, that's what was driving me insane. It was like, he kind of looks like James Franco, but he's not. He's pretty good. He's funny. I really like James Franco. If I could admit to a man crush, I probably would. I think, James Franco's pretty much a standard just artist. He's not, I wouldn't so much call him an actor first. I would call him an artist. So his little brother, has that same kind of Franco charm. And I thought he was pretty funny, honestly, for never having seen him. Who else is in it? There's a couple ladies in it. I don't know their names. Anyway, I think I've hit the big ones. There are a couple names I want to mention, but that would spoil the fun. Hint, hint. Think about who got their start in 21 Jump Street. It's I don't know about written by. I thought it was interesting that both Jonah Hill and Channing Tatum were producers, executive producers of this film. I think Jonah Hill has been working on this, has been wanting this to be made for quite a while. It's kind of a passion project for him. I can tell that there was a lot of love going into the film. They had a lot of fun making it. That fun comes across. You have a fun time watching it. I didn't really want to see the film just based off the trailers and whatever. I really didn't have any interest. I mean, remakes of television shows are not really my thing, and I was just maybe going to one day see it on DVD at home, but I definitely didn't want to get out to the theater. But then, the reason I went was the directors, and I think maybe co-writers, and I can't remember their name. I think one of them is Phil Lord. The other, it's a team. It's a directing team, a writing and directing team of two guys. I want to say Phil Lord is one of them, though I could be way off. And the other is, well, I don't know. But two guys. And the reason these two guys got me into the theater was the fact that they did two movies that and one I really enjoy, the other I've seen and I thought was funny. I think it's their debut was Not Another Teen Movie. They pretty much started that whole Not Another series. And by far the first is the best by far. Not another teen movie. It's still not great, but and I've only seen it once, but I remember it being pretty damn hilarious in places. And then I don't think they had anything to do with the rest of them. But I mean, they still make those movies. That, again, the whole Not Another Whatever movie series. They started that thing. I mean, maybe they retained some type of producer credit or something just to get money from it, as well they should if an idea catches on like that. But they did Not Another Teen Movie. But then really, what really impressed me is they did Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And not only I called Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs like the animated film of the year that year, which I think was maybe '09. I love Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. I thought it was a beautiful film, and I thought it was hilarious. That's the thing, is like, not only was it one of the better animated films of that year, but it was probably the best comedy of the year. Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs is hilarious. I've seen it, I think, 3 times, and I just laugh the whole way through. And so I had always wondered, and I always wondered, what were those guys going to do next? I, of course, was kind of hoping for an animated film, because I'm into animation, but they just kind of disappeared to me, and I was like, where are these guys? Because I thought they were just enormously talented, because I loved Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And here they are. I found out that this is what they were doing. So I was like, oh, well, I'm there. Definitely. I didn't even have to think about it. I just like, I got to see that movie, just to see what they were doing. And I think their style is there. I mean, this film is definitely not as kinetic as Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. It may be just as smart. It's certainly not as heartfelt. But it definitely is funny. It's self-aware. It's self-referential. It's tongue-in-cheek. It's campy. It's fun. And it is occasionally very funny. I mean, it's not hilarious, but it is very funny. And it features good acting. I'm giving it a 7. It's a solid 7 for me. The reason I'm not giving it, I wanted to give it an 8. I definitely thought about giving it an 8. But just because the story is really good, again, like going back to high school, dealing with, getting older, changing, while not only are you changing, the world is changing, and maybe you can't, but you can't go back. There's no going back. And even if you could go back, would you want to go back? I guess the only reason I'm not giving it a higher score is, one, I thought some of the characters like kind of disappeared sometimes. Not that I ever got like really invested in the satellite characters, but some of them were there and then they just kind of go away, and you think they might come in for just another little bit or just to say goodbye or something, and they don't. It's fine. I mean, again, you don't really care because the central characters are so well written and their stories do have this great arc. But again, some of the satellite characters you meet are like maybe not scene-stealingly funny, but pretty funny, and they just kind of fade away. Also, sometimes I thought the film looked kind of ugly is a strong word. I wish I could think. Just slightly unattractive. The cinematography isn't great. There was a lot of times where it looked kind of grainy, very poorly lit. There was one instance when I was like squinting to see what was going on. Sometimes like the faces are hidden in shadow, kind of, and it seems like you know, in a comedy, the facial reaction is key, and the facial reaction is kind of obscured. Rob Riggle. Rob Riggle is also in this movie. Rob Riggle's from Saturday Night Live. I can't give it away, but, you know, he plays a significant role in this. He's very good. He's from Missouri, my home state. So I got to give it up to the Show Me Boy. He was very good here, and definitely the biggest performance I've seen from Rob Riggle. Good stuff. But there was some of the cinematography, it didn't look good. You know, it didn't. You know, it just looked kind of grainy, which again I tried to explain away with art. You know, but yet I couldn't think of, you know, a significant argument for myself. Again, I had a fun time. I recently saw Casa de Mi Padre, and I think it made it tough just because I thought this was the better film. I thought it had more brains, more heart than Casa de Mi Padre, but I just left Casa de Mi Padre feeling so happy, and I had just a fun, super time. And it's like, you know, where Casa de Mi Padre fell short, 21 Jump Street excelled, and where 21 Jump Street fell short, Casa de Mi Padre excelled. So that's why I thought giving both of them a 7 was fair, because again, like half the time I wanted to give this an 8. You know, I wanted it to be an 8, but I just never felt it. You know, I just never felt it. And I thought, especially with Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs being so vividly, brilliantly colorful, that they would have a better, you know, mastery of cinematography. And I thought that, you know, some of the scenes that looked grainy and you know, shadowy, you know, wouldn't have. So again, you know, that's like my only issue with the film is just like a technical aspect. And again, some of this, you know, the characters kind of disappear. But all the acting's very good. Channing Tatum, not known for comedy, very funny here. Again, not hilarious. He, you know, has a well-written role. Again, it comes down to the storytelling. I think this was maybe written by 4 people, maybe 6 people, because the story is by Jonah Hill and another guy. And then I think the directors also had a rewrite. So, you know, there's a lot of fingers in the pot here. And, you know, I think it all comes down to them respecting the product of 21 Jump Street. So they wanted to pay, you know, careful attention and pay good homage, make a good homage to something they enjoy. Again, there's a lot of love there, and you can feel that love. You know, they had a lot of fun making it, and you have a lot of fun watching it. I really can't think of much else. I had a fun time. You know, it was a good comedy. Should you see it in the theater? It's not totally necessary, but you know, I think every movie should be seen in the theater. But you know, if you want to wait for DVD, that's fine. But definitely rent it. Definitely rent it because it's funny and a good time. I can't think of much else to say. That's 21 Jump Street. Solid picture. I'll give it a 7. Thanks.